Okay, and we're back, and we're going to go ahead and finish all the way to chapter 28 of the essential passage in each chapter, and then we'll pause again for another video break. But starting then on page 217 again on entrustment, point 22, the chapter is the 22nd chapter. The text reads, "In future ages, if there are good men and good women who have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one, you should preach and expound the Lotus Sutra for them." Now again, if it's the latter day of the law, so for us, we're going to preach Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to them. This is the same thing as the wisdom of the thus come one. If in future ages there are good men and good women who have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one, you should preach and expound the Lotus Sutra for them. The appropriate teaching for the time that you engage them. Alternative reading, if there are good men and good women who have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one, and if you preach for them, you should preach and expound the Lotus Sutra. If it's the latter day of the law when you encounter them, then you preach Nam-myoho Renge-kyo directly to them. Okay, summary. This passage is saying that the enlightenment of the thus come one Shakyamuni has nothing about it that is different from the enlightenment of all living beings. It's the same enlightenment, no matter when or where or who the teacher was. Because Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the original state of all the Buddhas. All right? So therefore, to have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one is to have faith in the wonderful law, is to have faith in Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So he's talking about that. If you have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one, you should preach and expound the Lotus Sutra for them, that I shown in this qualifying that this wisdom of the thus come one is to have faith in the wonderful law, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So that's what you would be teaching him. This is the wisdom of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So that's the wisdom that you got to convey, all right, in lifetime after lifetime. It's Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The former, because it's nothing different or less or a different flavor of wisdom than the same wisdom the Shakyamuni Buddha himself was explicating and transferring to his disciples, and that has come all the way around to us in the latter day of the law as Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. They are identical. That's the truth of the middle way. Former affairs of the Bodhisattva Medicine King. Text. This is true diligence. This is what is called a true Dharma offering to the thus come one. And true diligence is that never ceasing effort to achieve the state of understanding of the Buddha, okay? And to put yourself in a position to progress from being a bodhisattva to being a Buddha in your present lifetime, because you have the capacity to do that. This is what is called a true Dharma offering to the thus come one, because that kind of diligence is the duta of devotion. Summary. This passage describes a meditation or concentration on the middle way that embraces all forms and sense, that never slackens. So that's, again, you're devoted to the law. You're devoted to your achievement of the vow of establishing Buddhahood in your present form. You've taken a vow to become a Buddha in your present form. This is what is called a true Dharma offering to the thus come one. Because Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the sole and only law of the one vehicle. So he's qualifying again. We're not talking about teaching something that's diluted or that is an expedient means. Because Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the sole and only law of the one vehicle, because the one vehicle is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, it is called the true Dharma. Okay, not a dharma that's being conveyed as an expedient. And that's what happened in the former and the middle days. All right, both worldly and spiritual affairs are the true aspect that is pure and unalloyed. Now, the true aspect that is pure and unalloyed. In other words, there's nothing in it. There is nothing that's been improved upon. It's nothing that's been given, altered, changed. It didn't have to have an effect of anything else. It's an exact original state. That is the true aspect of enlightenment. That is the true aspect of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, that is pure and unalloyed. So what he's qualifying there is, again, this is true diligence. This is what is called the Dharma offering to the thus come one. The Dharma offering to the thus come one is the Buddha of the latter day of the law, the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo thus come one, who only teaches the true teaching, the true and unalloyed aspect of the original state of existence, Kuan. Okay, so this is without expedient means is what he's qualifying here. Buddhas don't teach anything. Again, what Shakyamuni was teaching was what he had to teach because of the limitations of his disciples. And the fact that he had already planted the seed in them numberless major world system thus particle kalpas ago. Just like the whole Bodhisattva never disparaging thing is that they came back after countless kalpas that they experienced from their rejection of him. They reappeared as his disciples, and he was able to lead them into the correct path. But it's because of that differentiation that what he was teaching them had to be taught to them in stages. Whereas with us, we teach it in a single stage of planting the seed of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, then encouraging somebody to continue along the path from hearing the name and the words of the truth to the sixth stage of supreme perfect enlightenment. And if they slow down or stop along the way, we've done our best to get them to the very end. And they are assured to get to stage 6 at some point in time in their life, maybe at the end of their life even. Bodhisattva, point 24, Bodhisattva wonderful sound. Thereupon the Bodhisattva wonderful sound, without rising from his seat or swaying his body, entered into a samadhi. Okay, and this goes back to the Indian thing of when they would be in these trances and they would be in these heavy-duty meditations, they had a tendency to move their bodies, to sway their bodies. It's what I'm showing you right now is what he's referring to, that without rising from his seat or swaying his body. So we don't stand and do any kind of wiggle worm kind of moves or going to any mudra or madras. We just chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. All right? Thereupon the Bodhisattva wonderful sound, without rising from his seat or swaying his body, entered into a samadhi. Okay, a devotional concentrated meditation, seeking something from within themselves, some understanding from within themselves. They're not just thinking about arbitrary things. They are always seeking the truth. They're trying to get to a state of Buddhahood. Glosses on the right, without swaying, the distant past. All right. Without swaying, the distant past is Kuan. There's no swaying in Kuan. The original state doesn't require anything other than Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Samadhi, the land of eternally tranquil light, the Buddha land. All right? Samadhi, you're entering a samadhi, a meditation that takes you back to that state of clarity of the original state, the land of eternally tranquil light. Summary. This passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past, and to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past is to nothing more than to reach stage 6 of practice and to have your Dharma body emerge, because that's going to see clearly the true state of existence, the true aspect. This summary, this passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past is to be in a state in which the body does not sway. You're not doing expedient means practices. To enter the land of eternally tranquil light without having to eliminate obstacles of illusions is called samadhi. All right? Because again, we're immediately pursuing our Buddhahood directly with the Gohonzon rather than going through a process of trying to find it. All right? This is the samadhi of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The samadhi of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is to sit upright, palms together, and in a reverent aspect of the inclusion of those enlightened and those unenlightened, all aspects, the entire phenomenal realm is within you, and then seeking that through chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon. This is the samadhi of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Point 25, the universal gateway of the Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sounds. Text, he views living beings with compassionate eyes. The sea of his accumulated blessings is immeasurable because of all of his efforts to try and save others. Glosses on the right, sea of his accumulated blessings, blessings and wisdom, just as we accrue in our own lives through our own actions as bodhisattvas and ultimately manifesting in our Buddhahood in the sixth stage of practice. Summary, this passage is saying that because both the objective and subjective aspects of the Dharma realm are part of the wonderful law, the Buddha looks on every living being equally as though he or she were his only child. Now I go back to qualify. The passage is saying that because both the objective and subjective aspects of the Dharma realm. So what would that be? The objective aspects of the Dharma realm are the qualifications that most people agree the Dharma realm exists in. Okay? The subjective aspect of the Dharma realm is the inner belief and understanding and clarity in which we perceive everything around us. Okay? So both the unenlightened and the enlightened aspects are part of the wonderful law. The Buddha looks upon every living being equally because there really is no inequality. They all possess the eternally endowed three bodies. There's no reason for him to look upon one with more favor than the other. Their karmas reflect that favor or disfavor based on the causes that they've made. The Buddha doesn't look at them like, oh, you're a bad kid, you're a good kid. That isn't it. It's completely equal. The whole idea is that the Buddha is constantly trying to bring everyone up to the same level as he has achieved. The Buddha looks on every living being equally as though he or she were his only child. The blessings and wisdom of the objective and subjective worlds are immeasurable. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo has these two elements of blessings and wisdom that are not differentiated for those that have heard the name and the words of the truth versus those that have. We are not better than those who have not. You should never think of those that are in other parts of the world that don't have access to the truth of the middle way, to the truth of the true aspect of all phenomena, to the truth of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. They are not lesser human beings than us. They are all equally endowed with the eternal three bodies. They are just in a state of delusion, which is obscuring them. And as the Buddha, that's how we see everybody. We see everybody as being equal to us. Okay? I hope you understood that. This is an important point, because as long as you see those distinctions, you're really not seeing things clearly. And if you're not seeing things clearly, no matter what you've told yourself about yourself, you have not revealed your Dharma nature. Okay? So you can't be a racist and be a Buddha. It's impossible. Okay? You can't look down on people that are more poor than you or that are at a societal disadvantage than you and be the Buddha. Okay? The Buddha treats everyone and sees everyone as completely equal. That's the whole point. Now let's use that equality to make them all Buddhas. That's the way the Dharma body perceives the phenomenal realm, objectively and subjectively. Text on chapter 26, and we're only going to chapter 28, so we're almost finished with this segment in this video again. Dharani, which are the meditations, the incantations. Text, we will use our own bodies to shield and guard those who practice this sutra. We will see that they gain peace and tranquility. Glosses on the right, peace and tranquility. appearing in the future. In other words, if they weren't in a circumstance karmically to be able to encounter the law, hopefully they will transform in the process of being in non-substantiality into a higher realm of consciousness, and be able to have more of a fortunate existence in their next lifetime, so that they do. Those of us that have already encountered the law are guaranteed to. We dwell in the ninth consciousness. We come back, we emerge from the ninth consciousness in the state of non-substantiality back into the state of temporary existence, and we always encounter the law. Okay, so glosses on the right. Peace and tranquility appearing in the future. Glosses on the left. Peace and tranquility appearing in the present. Summary. This passage is saying that if persons carry out the 5 practices, they will encounter the path of enlightenment. He's talking about those of us that have already created the connection with the law. And we will not encounter a dangerous road, as others may that have not done the things that create that karma, and they may be born somewhere where they never even encountered the 3 treasures. It has already been expressed. This is what is meant by peace and tranquility. Peace and tranquility come from encountering Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in every single lifetime and manifesting our original state. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is this peace and tranquility. Point 27. Former affairs of King Wonderful Adornment. Text. We have been blessed with great good fortune from past existences, and so have been born in an age where we can encounter the Buddha law, where we can encounter the Buddha law. So we should have great gratitude for the sake that, for whatever reason, in whatever fashion, we were able to encounter Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, that we never forget. We never forget our gratitude for that person, that place, that moment, that circumstance that allowed us to hear somebody say, have you heard of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo? Or that we at first said Nam-myoho Renge-kyo ourselves. That is a very, very special good fortune to have occur in your lifetime, in any given lifetime, because it assures that it will occur in all future lifetimes. Summary. This passage is saying that if one can establish a relationship with even just one phrase of the wonderful law, that relationship will continue unbroken over 1,000,000 kalpas, and one can bring to realization the priceless jewel of the great vehicle, and one can bring to realization the realization of the fact that you are a Buddha, as you already have, and bring forth and reveal the eternally endowed 3 bodies. Okay, realization, the priceless jewel of the great vehicle, which is known as being born in an age where one can encounter the Buddha's law. This is the Buddha's law of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So each lifetime, we should always have gratitude that somehow somebody introduced us. You may not even remember who that was. Hopefully you do. Always have heartfelt prayer and appreciation for the individual, the circumstance, and the location where that occurred. Okay? Chapter 28, Encouragements of Bodhisattva Universal Worthy, page 219. Text. When the lives of these persons come to an end, they will be received into the hands of 1,000 Buddhas, who will free them from all fear and keep them from falling into the 3 evil paths of existence. Our Buddhist gods, our senior leaders, our immediate good friends. You know, those are the people that help us sustain the very difficult path that we must make our way down to get to that 6th stage of practice after we've heard the name and the words of the truth. Summary. This passage is saying that when we gain enlightenment into the wonderful law, then our bodies that are subjected to transmigration with differences and limitations will manifest, just as they are, the lands of eternally tranquil light. And this is what is known as their lives coming to an end. The 1,000 Buddhas are the 1,000 factors. The words hands indicates that we are provided with these 1,000 factors, and therefore we will not fall into the evil paths of existence. These are the hands of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So what he's saying here, what are the 1,000 factors? That's the 10 times 10 times 10. That's the actually Ichinen Sanzen. Okay, but without, it's not Ichinen Sanzen. It's Ichinen Sanzen without the realm of the person, the persons, or the three realms of the environment, because we're now in the realm of non-substantiality. So what he's really talking about, all life states are included in this paragraph. When you go into quietude, when you die, okay, he's saying that regardless of how you went in, what the circumstance around you was, no matter how far along the path you had gotten, you're still going to be covered because you've already entered the realm of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and it's indestructible. Let me read the whole passage again. Summary. This passage is saying that when we gain enlightenment into the wonderful law, and what's gain enlightenment into the wonderful law? Is that the sixth stage of practice? No, that's hearing the name and the words of the truth. That's Risoku, actually, even. But it's the next stage after Risoku. So we're not talking about being in Buddha in theory. We're talking about a Buddha has begun the path toward Buddhahood, hearing the name and the words of the truth, the second of the 6 stages. He says, then our bodies that are subjected to transmigration with differences and limitations, those are the paths those are the life states that we would be reborn into when we're stuck in the lower 6 realms, okay, because we have not yet heard the name and the words of the truth. Once we have heard the name and the words of the truth, we will overcome those differences of those transmigration with differences and limitations will manifest just as they are the lands of eternally tranquil light. So even though you're still in the 6 stages, those 6 stages will now contain Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in regard to your next existence. You'll be able to escape them and actually go into the 4 noble paths. And this is what is known as when their lives come to an end, because your life comes to an end is that the life of a common mortal that is transmigrates in the lower 6 paths, in the paths of differences and limitations. You instead enter the realm of the 4 noble paths in terms of your transmigration of life. Okay, so it doesn't matter who you are or how far along you got. If you heard the name and the words of the truth and you didn't go any farther than that, is that going to put you into the upper realms? No, you didn't do enough to get there. Okay, but when you go into the lower 6, are you going to be able to encounter the law again? Absolutely yes. Those lower 6 are going to become lands of eternally tranquil light, because you've created the karma to re-encounter the thus come one, or the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo that exists in the realm when you come back out of quietude and wherever you manifest in your next lifetime, you're going to encounter it. Okay, so the 1,000 Buddhas are the 1,000 factors. The fact that all the 100 worlds and 1,000 factors, all the environmental all the living beings have access to then now be reborn in a circumstance that leads them toward the 6th stage of practice and the realization of their eternally endowed 3 bodies. The word hands indicates that we are provided with these 1,000 factors, and therefore we will not fall into the evil paths of existence. The evil paths of existence in that circumstance would be never encountering the Buddha's law again. But this is saying, even if we're born into the transmigration in the lands of transmigration with differences and limitations, we will manifest the ability to escape that and enter the 4 noble paths in our next lifetime. These are the hands of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. In other words, this assistance, this ability to go beyond the limitations of differences and limitations will occur, and you will be able to continue in your path toward Buddhahood. This is the end of the separate transmission on each chapter, page 220. We will next time begin on page 221. All the 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra are Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, speaking of the sutra as a whole. And I will see you then. Thank you very much.